So the other day I did an episode about the worst martinis in America, in all of America, and like under my breath, I mentioned, hey, maybe I should do an episode where I taste all the gins and we'll rank the gins. And I was shocked that there were a lot of comments saying I should do that. So by popular demand, today, the gin, let's taste them all. I have a lot of gin back here. So here are some ground rules. Let's lay these out. I'm gonna do my best to taste them all. I will be using a spit bucket. That is mandatory, it's a safety thing. I'm gonna use it, I'm gonna spit right there. You may not see that on camera. If you don't see it on camera, it's because it was boring for the edit and gross. You don't need to see me spitting. If it's funny, it'll make the show. But trust me, I'm using it. I am also rinsing my palate out with some seltzer. I like to do that. If you don't see me doing that, it's because it didn't make it into the edit because it was boring. Rest assured, I am cleansing my palate between tastings. I always get comments about you should use a spit bucket, you should cleanse your palate. I do. I will take notes. I will rank these gins. I got from the bottom to the top of the shelf. Maybe not the top of the shelf, some stuff gets pretty expensive, but the bottom to the upper quarter. How does one rank gin? You know, in a competition, I suppose there's a bunch of scoring categories and stuff like that. I can't do that. I'm not that guy, I can't do that. Here's what I think. I think we're gonna pick a standard and we'll rank them about how much better or worse they are than that standard. It's gonna be somewhat subjective. I will give you the best tasting notes I can. You can use this as you will. Glassware. I happen to have a couple of Glencairns, but no, I'm gonna use any glassware I grab. I don't care. I think that, oh, you have to taste with a Glencairn is partially woo-woo. Not necessarily because there's no science, but because I'm trying to think of a good example here. It's like that thing where you're trying to like optimize for your micronutrients, but you haven't even gotten your macros right or whatever, or you want to know what's like the right way to do push-ups, but you're not even doing push-ups. Like, I don't think normal mortals are capable of appreciating the edge that a Glencairn gives you in tasting, if in fact they give you an edge at all. So that's why I call it hokum. I think that's it. Without any further ado, here it is, the great how to drink gin off. Let's get ginned up. I'm gonna start with Tanqueray. I wanna start with Tanqueray as my first tasting as sort of the standard London dry gin. In my Worst Martinis of America episode, I made a reference to the fact that Tanqueray was a good gin. I stand by that statement. I got a lot of comments saying that, Greg, you need to taste more gins. Tanqueray is a bad gin. It's difficult, though, to say what is a good and a bad gin because there is so much variety in gin. When I say that Tanqueray is a good gin, I mean that it is a upper quality standard London dry gin. Throughout the history of cocktaildom, drinks will call for a London dry gin. You might prefer the taste of, I'm just picking out of the hat, Hendrick's. You might prefer that. That might be a better gin for you, but is it the gin that was in mind when a gin buck was developed or when the dry martini was developed? Should a dry martini have cucumber notes in it? If you like it that way, sure. There's a part of my brain that wants to think about this in the terms of like, what is the platonic ideal of gin, of London dry gin in particular? Because unless they say otherwise, I assume that all gins are sort of trying to make themselves fit into the London dry pantheon, because certainly there is some variability there, right? Hendrick's doesn't claim not to be a London dry gin. Maybe they have the word botanical on their bottle or something like that, but like they're just saying like, this is how we would do a London dry gin. Totally reasonable thing to say. So I don't know, those are my scrambled up thoughts on this. So without any further ado, since there's been plenty of ado, let's try some Tanqueray. Neat. Right away, the room is filled with notes of pine and juniper. I like it. I find it to be a very refreshing aroma. Very juniper forward, lots of pine and juniper notes. I have to say, I don't know when the last time was that I just drank room temperature London dry Tanqueray. I like that. I like that quite a bit. I find that it has a round, sweety note. I feel like I'm getting, obviously, a lot of juniper. It is screaming juniper. It's not bitter. I find it actually a little bit on the sweeter side. Maybe that's just the way my mouth is today. I don't know. I'm maybe picking up on some floral lime peel notes. I always find lime oil expressed from a lime peel to be somewhat floral in that way, and maybe some orange notes as well. Maybe some orange notes. That's overall, I'm going to call that my standard, right? So I'm going to start scoring these, and I'm going to call Tanqueray a score of 50. Anything below that will be somewhat less than 50. Something above that will be more than 50, right? So let's put tank here. I will put down, and I'm not going to waste any more camera time on me taking these notes. This will just be so that you can see that I am, but then I'll do them off camera. Juniper plus lime peel, sweet. Score 50. Kind of feel like I should go through all of the standard London Dry mid-tier gins, right? Put them all together. So, next up, Beefeater. Beefy, beefy, beefy boy. Glug, glug. Okay, beef boy. This smells much more aggressively sharp, pungent, more pungenty than I would say Tanqueray. So on the Beefeater, I'm getting more pine notes than juniper. Otherwise, I would say it's just an issue of preference. Less of those lime peel notes, honestly. This is more straightforward pine notes, in my opinion. Pine and juniper. I'm not picking up on any orange, any lime. It has about the same level of like perceived sweetness to me. And I gotta say, like when you're tasting spirits, straight spirits, there's like a sliding scale. You're using kind of a different definition of sweetness than you would say when you were eating a piece of cake that is filled with sugar. Is there some sugar in this? Maybe, like as a fining agent. I wouldn't be able to tell you. But it feels round on the palate, if I can try to explain that. I don't know. It sounds about right to me. Maybe it's just sort of like the absence of astringency or bitterness that when you put it all together, it's like, yep, that's sweet. Although, of course, I don't really mean literally sweet. Overall, I think I prefer tank, so I'm gonna mark this as a less than tank. Bombay Dry. Not Bombay Sapphire, which is yet to come, but Bombay Dry Gin. I don't know that I've ever had straight Bombay Dry Gin. I am expecting this to be quite similar. I was about to comment that it's a little cloudier or oily looking, and it might be, but also this glass is a little hazy, so it could just be that. Ginny, ginny, gin, gin. That smells powerfully of ethanol, much more like a floor cleaner or something, a solvent. Surprisingly, this is more juniper, less pine, no citrus that I can detect, and not very astringent. In fact, this might be the roundest and softest of the three. It is also the least interesting and has the least evolution. It's not my take, actually, so I'm gonna put this below the Beefy Boy. Okay, I've got one more that I would consider to be sort of stock standard. This is perhaps a little lower shelf. Oh, did I not buy Gordon's? Oh, fuck. I don't think we're missing the Gordon's gin. If we don't have Gordon's, that's not good. We should definitely have Gordon's gin, but we're not gonna have it. Seagram's. We're gonna do Seagram's in a plastic hip flask here. Getting down to the bottom shelf. Let's try this sucker out. Not the only bottom shelf. There's more to come. Oh, got a little on my hand there. This is going straight in the garbage. Part of me wants to redistill all this and see what happens. It has a color, and I don't know if that's the, I guess that's just the plastic. Strong juniper notes. Doesn't taste anything like the other guys. This is weird. The Seagram's has very heavy lime oil notes. I would say it's probably the sweetest tasting of these so far. Very weak juniper notes. The combination of any of these flavor profiles plus ethanol on the nose is going to read, I think, pretty juniper forward, which is why I think that's being deceptive, okay? This is Seagram's, so I'll make some notes. We'll do the next. Okay, moving along. I have got 2 speed rails down here and a pile of extras over here. They're in no organizational system at all. But so that I don't accidentally trip over my own feet, I'm gonna clear this speed rail, the pile down here, and that speed rail. And that's gonna be the way we run. Bringing me to Aviation Gin. They make some kind of a Deadpool edition, or they did. Can't get that right now. Also, I'm not trying to taste anybody's like secondary lines except for maybe like just like, oh, this is our upscale one. If you have like a weird flavored one, right? Like we're not gonna go with that. Here we are, a taste of the Aviation Gin. This is a new brand, by the way, newish. Sometimes people tell me, oh, you should use Aviation Gin in an aviation cocktail. No, Aviation Gin is named for the cocktail. They are have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. I mean, maybe it's not even named for the cocktail. Maybe it's just named because he likes flying, you know? But the cocktail predates the gin by like 100 years. Well, 80, 70, whatever. I don't like that gin at all. Menthol. I get a lot of menthol notes on this, which I was really not anticipating, and sweet. And it actually yields something that I think, to my mouth right now, tastes a bit like toothpaste. Not quite, but it has that sort of flavor profile. Maybe there's some lime oil as well. The juniper is toned way down. Of course, this is not really necessarily claiming to be a London Dry, but like, I guess what you would call a new American or an American style gin. Not enthused about it. Now, that said, you might like that flavor profile a lot. It's much less aggressive than a London Dry. It is way more approachable, let's put it that way. My issue with these kinds of gins is that, you know, there's a couple different ways to rate these. Do I like it? Do I like drinking it? Not particularly. You might. Does it make good gin cocktails? I don't know. It's hard. I would say no, because most of your gin cocktails were formulated for London Dry style gins. So there you go. The judges must score it. Aviation, Aviato, weak juniper, menthol, sweet. I'll call it a 25. I think it's a better gin than the Seagrams. Next up is something called Bull Rush. I've had this bottle lurking around for forever. I don't know. I think Bull Rush sent me this in the mail 8 years ago. Many years ago. Why haven't I drank it? I don't know. It just sort of seems special. It's just been sitting there this whole time. Obviously, we made some drinks with it at some point. Bull Rush Gin. Does this even still exist? I don't know. Meredith right now. I was shopping for this episode. She's going to be slapping herself in the forehead. Like, gins that don't even exist? Tails. That's got some dog on her. Okay. The nose brought tails. It smelled like it was distilled too long. A little bit funky. That's a big part of what makes Kaling so gross, in my opinion. It is running the still for too long and then getting bad aromas out of there. That's what I got on the nose. I didn't really taste that, but I also can't afford to swallow these for health reasons, and sometimes you do get a different thing that happens when you swallow it. I got peppercorn in the mouth, not much juniper. Just says herbs and botanicals, select, specific, whatever. They're saying juniper, coriander, angelica, citrus, lavender, ginger, and other sourced botanicals. I don't know. It added up to like black pepper to me a little bit. Bull Rush, tails, peppercorn, mild, not too sweet. 18. Next, bring on the gins. Astraea Gin, Ocean, Wild Pacific Northwest Botanicals. Have not tasted this yet. If memory serves, I got this one in the mail from Curiata. Did not go out of my way to buy it. Curiata is a friend of the show. If you want to have spirits delivered to your house or you want to try any of these, I'm sure they can hook you up. Check them out. Curiata.com. Not a sponsor, just a friend of the show. Send me things from time to time. Nice people. Like them a lot. Weird cork, Astraea. Very weird. It's got like a sleeve to it. It goes around and inside. I don't know about that. All right, here we go. Taste this stuff up. Bloop, 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 bloop. Looks like I am sticking with these 3 Glencairns. I'm just going to keep rotating through them. I lied. Said I was going to use whatever I grabbed, but the night is young. Oh, that's a twist. What is that? Green. It's very vegetal. I wish I could place that better. It's, I mean, almost like a Genepi. Yeah. This is weird. I actually like this a lot. This has a very, not sweet. Definitely, I'm picking up on juniper or something that is approximating that energy of juniper. Definitely some pine. Maybe that's what it is. It is spruce. That's what it is. It's specifically like spruce, maybe even a note of cedar. I don't know where that's necessarily coming from. I don't know if that's healthy. Can you do that? Yeah, I guess you could do that. I think that's what that is. It's a very, yeah, yes, the smell of a dry sauna. Not full of sweat, but like the way that the wood smells after it's been heated. That's kind of what I'm getting off of this. I really like this a lot. I'm definitely calling this just better than Tanqueray. It's cool. Does it make for a good gin cocktail? I mean, it would make for a good cocktail, in my opinion. Would it make for a good, you know, I might be rethinking some of my thoughts about this, my philosophy. It might not make the most expected cocktail that was calling for a London Dry gin, but I think it's pretty cool. Astraea. I'll call this a 60. And I might adjust these scores later because I am just sort of finding my baselines and stuff. That was Astraea. Let's move right along to Bulldog. It's going to sound crazy. Many years ago, I recall Bulldog being mentioned in some high regard, but maybe that was just a paid-for review. I don't know. I don't even know if this stuff exists anymore. I genuinely don't. I've had this bottle for a long time. It has a spiky collar, kind of like an angry bulldog. Kind of makes me think of Terror from The Boys. So maybe this gin will be diabolical. That right there is the gin of the Spice Girls. All right. Bulldog, product of the United Kingdom. This is a very boring gin. It has very few characteristics other than, I mean, it tastes almost like vodka. I have to give this very poor review because whether a gin is good or bad, it should taste like gin. It has, I guess, some juniper notes at the very finish, but boring is my note. Weak, practically vodka. Vodka, the best. I gotta call this a 10, honestly. And so what is gin? Because I said that this gin kind of reminds me of vodka. What is gin? How do you describe gin? Or technically, what is gin? There is this thing that happens with any mark of refinement, sophistication, or masculinity that I feel like is unique to young men. And I do mean young men in particular. And spirits are no exception. I get comments from time to time. Like, I got a comment on, I did a short where I did instant, rapid aging of whiskey. And it was a comment about how, like, and of course this is somewhat accurate, but what they're saying is not accurate. It was a comment, it was like, this is garbage. Nothing can replicate the years of fermentation. It's like, my God, man, you don't even know what happens in a barrel. Fermentation is dead. It is an inert thing. There are no living organisms in spirits because they are dead. You can't live in there. So it's not fermenting. It is evaporating. It is exchanging with the wood. There are very slow moving chemical processes that happen. There's expansion and contraction. There might be some elements that it's been studied, right? But what is not happening is fermentation. Sure, you can't reproduce. Sure, you cannot replicate aging in an ultrasonic bath in a real sense, right? But you can change things quickly. And that feels a little bit off topic. But what I'm getting at is that there is this idea, sort of reminds me of, like, I studied the blade, if you know that meme, where, like, the same dudes would talk about, like, oh, the katana is the sharpest, it has micro serrations, it is so much better than, like, this, like, secret knowledge, this misguided nerdery or obsession where it's like based on, like, you don't have any real information, so you're just filling in the blanks with whatever sounded good that you picked up along the way. And so when I say that gin is flavored vodka, some people are going to get very up in arms about what that means, but it is true. Gin is flavored vodka. And in fact, I've read other people refer to vodka as incomplete gin. Gin starts its life as a neutral grain spirit of some form. You can distill it from anything. There are no rules about that. And then it goes through an infusion process where there's a couple ways of doing that. You can compound your gin where you steep things into that neutral grain spirit to extract their flavor. You can also do a distillation extraction where you suspend a basket of botanicals above in the headspace above a still pot, and the vapors kind of go across it and reflux off of it, and that's how you get your infusion. But it is an infusion. Gin is fundamentally infused vodka, and the cleaner your base spirits are, the more control you'll have over the final product. So don't study the blade at me. Don't come at me saying, like, Greg doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, I actually do. So when I say that this gin reminds me of vodka, what I mean is this gin it sucks. Very little has been done to this gin, in my opinion. It's the same thing with a lot of stuff too, right? Like, people want to mythologize stuff, Like, when I was a younger man, and I hope this is mostly worn off, but, like, absinthe was this forbidden fruit because it was outlawed. And I was susceptible to this myself. I also believed that there was real absinthe and there was fake absinthe, and we don't have access to the real absinthe. You wouldn't be able to even handle the real absinthe. Real absinthe has to be burned with a sugar cube, which was all marketing that was made up in Eastern Europe, in Czechoslovakia, where they were making basically, like, knockoff absinthe. They were just taking high-proof spirits and then soaking stuff in it. It wasn't knockoff absinthe because they were making it through a compounded infusion. It was knockoff because they had a bad infusion. They had inferior mixtures of ingredients. They did not have the tradition. And now, of course, now I sound like I'm mythologizing. Yeah, I mean, like, there is something to be said for perfecting a recipe, right? Like, you can't just make chartreuse, right? Like, there's people who know how to make chartreuse, and there's people who know how to make good genepi, and there's people who know how to make good absinthe, and they might pass those recipes down, and they might not. It was so easy to mythologize absinthe, also because of the movie Dracula. It's lame. Don't do that. Don't mythologize your swords. Don't mythologize your spirits, or whatever. It's not very important that they be better than this or that. Don't let that be a mark of your character. You can just enjoy things. And if you can only enjoy that thing through the mythologizing that you make up for it, then maybe you don't really enjoy that. Next gin, that was Bulldog. I was dismissive of this. I had this bottle of Hayman's of London distilled gin. It does say vibrant citrus on there, but Hayman's is famous for their Old Tom. Hayman's makes kind of the Old Tom that people go for when you're looking for a standard Old Tom gin. You want to reach for Hayman's. I actually have a hard time finding it in my area. But I saw this. I must have grabbed it at some point. I don't know. Does this count as a London Dry? I don't know. This is a weird one. This one might break my rules. Does this count as a stock standard we're making gin? I don't know. Let's see what we got here. A little latexy. Okay. I'm taking this one out of the ranking. That is super citrusy. I almost think that you could use this as a high proof replacement for an orange liqueur. This is like a bone dry, high proof curacao in my mind. It is all citrus, all orange, all lemon. I don't know about lime. Yeah, there's some lime in there too. No juniper, nothing like that. This bears no relation at all to a London Dry. So back onto the rack it goes. You're out of the competition, Hayman's. I cannot consider you in this lineup of gins. You're not the guy. We need a different guy for this. Off with you. Next gin, Tanqueray number 10. Now, small batch crafted, this is gin. As far as I know, this portends to be a fairly standard gin, just better. I have yet to taste it on its own. I made a martini with it at random. I made a bad martini in the Bad Martinis episode with it. So let's see how the number 10 stacks up. This, like I said, as far as I know, this is just our gin, but better. Yeah, I mean, Big Juniper knows, so presumably yes. Wow. Oh, shit. That is pretty good. Wow. Okay, so I got to write down my notes really fast. I'm a Yank, so I don't know. Is that named for number 10 Downing Street? I wonder. I like this. This has strong notes of juniper and then pine, really big pine, super fragrant. I would imagine this would make a fantastic martini. I really like it. A lot of times these upmarket things, you know, the fancy bottles are kind of marketing hype, but I think this is awesome. I'm actually going to mark this as a 75, but it could be the upper limit. Adding another note, great. Okay, yes, this gin is wonderful. It has a very fragrant mouth taste. It is juniper and then huge aromatic pine. I mean, I was blown away by that. I really enjoy that. You might not. I thought it was awesome. It says fresh citrus on the cap here. I'm sure that's part of the flavor profile, but what I got on my taste was juniper and pine in a very pleasing balance. Not sweetness, not too round, honestly. This was pretty forceful. In a cocktail, you know, when you're rounding it off with some vermouth or whatever, I think this would be nice. I think this would be very nice. Yeah, man. Next gin. So far, this is the best one. We have knocked out the first speed rail, boo-boo! Which brings me to the stuff sitting on the apple box. Starting with the biggest bottle down there, and this is the bottom of the bottom shelf, Classic Club, 1.75 liter for $10. It was so cheap, how could you resist? Semper Delicatum, timeless spirit of the cocktail. Extra dry gin with natural flavors. I don't think it's going to be any good. Okay, nice. Glug, gluggity, glug, glug. This is going to be terrible. Band-Aids. It's sweet. There's orange notes. Very weak. I mean, it just tastes like they took some neutral grain spirit, put some sugar in it, and added a very small amount of orange essential oil and a little bit of juniper extract or oil. Very small. Possibly, I would not say artificial. I would say probably real because it's almost cheaper to go that way. That was a Classic Club. It is so far away from the number 10, it's mind-boggling. Bad, sweet, boring, let's give this a 5. Okay, next off the Apple box, we've got New Amsterdam gin. This is sort of budget. I wouldn't say bottom shelf, obviously. Classic Club is the bottom of the shelf, but this is a budget American gin. I think they even use the term New American gin, if I'm not mistaken, but they don't now. They're calling it the Stratosphere. Is this not their normal gin? I don't know. This was the only New Amsterdam I found in any store in my area. Very powerful citrus notes on the nose. It tastes like Curacao. It is all orange notes. Very orange, sweet. Where did I rank Aviation? 25? I'll call it a 15. Next gin. This one is a it's very top shelf. This is the Monkey 47, super popular, also typically very expensive. So let's see how this guy is. I know the price has come down on this, in my opinion, over the years, because I remember it used to be at $3.75. It was like $60 when I first saw this on the market. So I like that a lot. It does not have a very pronounced juniper or pine note, though. I definitely got some citrus, some lime oil. I got some orange oils in there. Oh, shoot. There was something else that I missed. Maybe wintergreen? And yes, there is some juniper now. It's very pleasant. It's very well balanced, I would say, as far as these things go. It is a little rounder, maybe a touch sweetened. It feels like it belongs in a family of London dry gins. It's just more refined, pushed in a different direction. Celery. That's what it was that I had originally picked up on, was celery, and that just came back to mind. I like this a lot. I don't know that there's any such thing as a sipping gin. It's not for me anyway. If there were, this would be leaning in that direction. Nice. I like it. I was recently in Quebec, and I picked up this bottle of Foo Gin, which I had never seen anywhere, and I felt like I should try it. This is a gin made in Quebec. You may have a hard time finding this bottle. That is an unusual aroma. I'm going to say fishy. Let's say briny. But I think that could be some kind of a conifer tree, now that I'm thinking about it more. Hemlock or spruce or something. Maybe it's spruce. This gin tastes strongly of cucumber and maybe fennel. Fennel and cucumber is what I get. I don't think I actually get any pine or anything notes on here at all. Whether or not there's juniper, I couldn't tell you. It's an interesting spirit. I have a hard time thinking of it as a gin, though. I mean, it's a fine spirit. It's got some use for it. It does not, to me, really resemble what you would expect a gin to taste like. Any drink you make with this would be a big departure from the norm of that drink if it calls for gin. It might be a fine drink. It's a little weird. Sometimes the world tosses me a bone, and for these tasting episodes, there's actually a gin in these little checkout bottles that's worth trying. I got 2 of them today. It's great for me because these are like $3 as opposed to having to buy a whole bottle. This is Edinburgh gin. I'm not from Scotland. Do you pronounce that Edinburgh or Edinburgh? Edinburgh. Edinburgh. That's what it is. You've got to put an accent on it, and it's Edinburgh. This smells like it's, and be not offended, this smells like it's leaning in the direction of a London Dry. This is a mild London Dry. It reminds me, is this Tankish? I'm reading back my notes. Yeah, this reminds me of Tanqueray or Bombay. It belongs in that range. It is trying to be, to my mouth, a very standard London Dry gin. It's a perfectly acceptable London Dry gin. I recommend it for those purposes. Now we're getting into Bombay Sapphire, my other little taster, which is a lovely thing to have. I don't know that Bombay Dry Gin, which I tried earlier, is really that commonly drank. I feel like you always hear of Bombay Sapphire. Let's see how this one is. This is the Sapphire. I don't know that I've ever had this. It's got powerful ethanol notes, little doctor's office. It doesn't seem to have very many defining characteristics. I find this to be pretty boring. It tastes a lot like regular Bombay, maybe a little bit more round, a little bit sweeter. It's very one note. It's just juniper. Maybe there's a touch of citrus added to this one. I find it to be a real letdown, whereas I have to say Tanqueray 10 I was quite impressed by. Oh, let me mark this as Bombay Sapphire. This one feels like a ripoff. Boring, juniper, maybe citrus. I'm calling this like a 30. I guess. What is the... Yeah, I ranked it right where I ranked Bombay Dry. They are almost identical, as far as I can tell. Next gin. Oh, I finished the gins on the Apple box. Now I got to go to the other speed rail. So, speed rail. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more gins to go. I think we have some topper shelf over here. So this will be interesting. So, St. George Dry Rye. I'll try it. I think that I had it because I had it. But we'll throw it into the episode. The Terroir is over there. That's the one that people say you should really, that's the one that they're known for. I wonder if I'll taste any rye spice or if that's just the distillate. Oh. No, you smell it immediately. This smells like whiskey. This smells like a scotch. Wow. Will this even taste like gin? I mean, that tastes like whiskey immediately. Does it taste like rye? I don't know. I mean, it's like unaged. It's crazy how much that tastes. I have a hard time calling that gin. It has like a lingering sweet caramel note or corn note as well. It has a lingering sweetness like you would expect on a whiskey. What the hell are they putting in here? I mean, I'm curious. They're saying there's juniper, Malabar black peppercorn, caraway. Yeah, I was picking up on that. Coriander, lime peel, and grapefruit. If you say so. I mostly say this tastes like a rye whiskey or a not very aged Highland Scotch, honestly. Like a young Highland Scotch. It's round. It has some baking spices there. I don't pick up on lime at all. Do I pick up on caraway? Not like you would in like is it aquavit? Yeah, like not like that. Yeah, not like rye pumpernickel bread is what I meant to say. Coriander. I don't know if I can really ever taste coriander in the. I'm sure it's doing something, but yeah, I don't know. I gotta say this. I don't think this is gin. I am going to put that down. St. George dry rye, not gin, and therefore it is out of the running. I suppose if it identifies as gin, it's gin. But come on. No true gins. Now, this is the St. George that, really goes onto the gin lists. This is the St. George Terroir gin. I'll read the label in a minute because I do think that they're doing something interesting here, but I could be mistaken. That smells like gin. I mean, that smells like juniper. Powerful juniper notes. This puts to shame the juniper aroma on every other gin up until this moment. This thing is screaming juniper. Like I don't know if the juniper you use in making gin is the same as like the juniper that ground cover that people grow around their houses in the suburbs. This smells like that. If that ornamental juniper is not the same that you're usually using to make gin, this is aggressively junipery, like that stuff is. The little spiky plant that's down by your ankles that holds onto the fallen leaves. I hate that stuff. Powerfully, incredible. I mean, it smells exactly like gardening. Whoa. That is an insane spirit. Holy shit. I have to reconsider a lot of... It must be a different type of juniper or something. This is insanely junipery. That is the main flavor profile. Juniper. Aggressively so. Woody. Just full on in your face, to the point where it opens your sinuses. The way that that super concentrated pine juniper note. There's a word for that. It's not astringent. I forget what it is, but that face opening, searing kind of thing. I'm gonna tell you what. This is a crazy spirit. Do I think you could make a martini or something with it? You could, but it would be a St. George Terroir martini. If somebody orders a martini from you and you make it with this instead of a more standard London dry and you don't warn them in advance, they're gonna send that drink back. That said, it could easily be a thing that you appreciate. I kind of wish it had more of an evolution. It is super duper one note. I would like to see some more citrus notes in there. I think that could be really cool. This almost seems like a juniper. Well, it's not a liqueur because it's not sweetened and it's full proof, but you know what I'm saying? This seems like a juniper spirit. But I will qualify it as gin. That is gin. So we'll write down our notes. Uncomfortable levels of juniper here. It's got to be a different kind of juniper than what's in the other gins. I don't really know how to rank it because it's its own thing. Okay, so I guess what I'm settling into here in terms of scoring is that if it's very different than a standard London dry, but interesting, I'll probably rank it above where I put my baseline, my Tanquerays and stuff like that. Let's call it a 65. I don't know. It's interesting. It is aggressive. I want to read the label though to see if they have any indication about what the heck is going on here. Uniquely Californian gin with a sense of place and poetry inspired by the wild beauty of the Golden State. Gin with terroir made from 12 botanicals from California's mighty Mount Tam. Douglas fir, California bay laurel, fennel, coastal sage, orris root, angelica root, juniper berries, and other profoundly aromatic I can tell you what it tastes like. It tastes like ornamental junipers in your front lawn. Like if you took them in a wood chipper or something, just ripped them to pieces and just huffed it. I'm sure all that other stuff is in there, but like the end result is that. For me, Hendrick's, darling of gin of yore. I remember when this came out, people were like, oh, Hendrick's gin. People really got taken in by it. I said even then that like, well, it's Hendrick's. Hendrick's gin is fundamentally different from a London dry gin. And maybe you want that, and maybe you don't. Say what you will about St. George. Between the dry rye, not gin, and the terroir, they are definitely defying expectations with their spirits. They made some crazy juice. Here we go. This is Hendrick's Gin. I gotta tell you, after going through all these gins, this reads way more like a standard London dry than I was expecting it to. I forget which one it was now. I made some notes about it, but like there was definitely one that was really big cucumber. Don't know that this is reading quite as big as a cucumber, and I might like it better as a result. I mean, you get a big juniper nose. It has a very soft mouthfeel. Overall, I would say it's a very restrained, mild gin. Pleasant. Maybe it does have some notes of cucumber. Not very powerful cucumber, though. It's funny, in my mind, this was always the cucumber gin. It's a good gin. It's pretty standard, run-of-the-mill London dry. It's a quality gin. I'll rank it a 51. Only a few more left to go. Empress 1908 Indigo Gin. This is gin that has been infused with butterfly pea blossoms. So it is deep purple indigo, and it will change color when it's exposed to acid, which is fun. If I didn't purchase this with my own money, I'm not surprised. I think that they may have sent this to me, and I never even opened it, guys. Oh, I'm sorry. It's also possible I did buy it. I don't know. Empress 1908. Oh, wow. It's a lot less dark than I expected it to be. It kind of looks like blue jean water. There's an interesting aroma there. There was something unexpected, now I've lost it. Something a little grainy in there. I don't know what the mash bill is, but I feel like I'm getting some light whiskey notes. It reminds me distantly of the St. George dry rye gin, but definitely much more traditionally a gin. I would call this a style of a London dry gin with a touch of something coming from the whiskey or scotch world, a rye or a wheat or something like that. I don't think corn. It does not have that kind of a sweet finish. It has a pretty astringent juniper note. I think this is a good gin. I like this. It's very interesting that it's purple or indigo or whatever. And I wonder if that flavor is coming from the butterfly pea blossoms. They don't have a strong flavor, but they do have some flavor. And I've only ever used them dry. It's possible that if they're using them fresh, they have a different flavor. I like it. It's an interesting gin. It's not just a gimmick. I mean, the color is a gimmick, right? That's fine. It's also a good gin. So, cool. 48. How about let's make it a 43. I thought about it over. I'm going to rank this one a 53. I think it's basically a standard London dry, but a little bit more interesting. So it goes above the 50 mark. Next, Sipsmith, purchased just for this episode. I believe Sipsmith is highly regarded, so I'm interested in testing this one out. Well, we'll nose it from the glass. As one must, yes. Sipsmith, London. Handcrafted in small batches. There's a goose on there. Okay. Pleasant juniper, not too aggressive. This is a very mild London dry. I like this. Ooh, there's a little note of something at the end there that I'm going to call cedar, but if you told me it was orris root or angelica, I don't know that I would know the difference. I would not be able to argue with you. I like this gin quite a bit. It is not astringent. It's not aggressively juniper forward or not very piney either, except for maybe that cedar-ish note. I'm not picking up on any strong citrus, though. If you told me there was some bitter orange or grapefruit peel in there, I would probably be unable to argue with it. I don't think that they've doctored it up with sugar. I like this gin. This is a very respectable gin. It's a good gin. Sipsmith. Yeah, I'll call it a 55. Sure, respectable. Those are my notes. Now we're coming to one that I've actually been pretty excited about trying, Drumshambo. This is Irish gunpowder gin, Drumshambo. I gotta tell you, people have been telling me about this for a while. They seem to have a pretty good branding. In my comments, every time gin comes up, people are like, you gotta drink the Drumshambo Irish gunpowder gin. Here's my thing. I've been skeptical of this. It feels gimmicky. You put gunpowder in there, I don't know. With gunpowder tea, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, interesting. So it's Irish gin with some Japanese influences. See, I never really looked into it. I just thought like, we'll put gunpowder in the name. Now I'm wondering if I've right? I did, in fact, prejudge this, and I was probably doing a bad job of it. Here we go. The gunpowder gin. I get juniper. Woody, warm juniper. Not like a bitter, astringent juniper. Wow. I gotta say, I do like that. That is a very interesting evolution. I love anything with a big evolution. This is definitely not a one-note song. If for a minute there, it does go to a very powerfully bracing, eye-opening kind of juniper or pine note. I don't know that I'm picking up on gunpowder tea. Gunpowder tea is a kind of green tea that has been, this is how I've always understood it to be, rolled into tight little pearls. My brains might be crossing up pearl tea and gunpowder tea, but it's rolled up tight. I know that because I was very into mint tea for a minute, and Moroccan mint tea is made with a mint-infused gunpowder tea. Soft mouthfeel, powerful juniper, some other herbal thing. I like this gin. It opens soft with a round mouthfeel and a mild flavor that slowly ramps up. I'm actually really impressed by that. It like straight up, it just comes up slow and increases the volume and becomes more and more ginny as it goes. It's hard for me to pull the flavors apart on this one. They seem to kind of all work together in concert. I would say the overall effect is one of like pine and juniper in a pretty potent combo, but it gets there. It really does have a slow attack. I went in and tasted it a couple times. That was a consistent feature of it. That's cool. I think that's very interesting. And we'll call it a 67. Cool, next gin. Second to last gin, The Botanist. Another one that is highly regarded. Apparently this comes from Islay, or really Isla. You guys can tell that I have been using my spit bucket religiously because I am quite sober. Clean. Honestly, like, God, it's almost not even there. Yeah, mild sort of ethanol and ethanol. That's really it. So The Botanist, I find that it opens with round citrus notes. So orange, but not like grapefruit, right? Like not bitter, but sweet. I don't know that it is sweet, but it's sweet citrus notes. It's a very slow, winding evolution that gets finally at the end to a balanced juniper finish. I like it quite a bit. There's no component that's much louder than the other. It seems like frankly, something that was worked on quite a while. There's almost like a perfect crossfading that happens from orange to juniper. Are there other notes in there? Probably somebody better at this than me could pick them out, but that's really what I get, and I like it. Foraged Island Botanicals. Interesting. I would regard this well. I would say that this, the north of 50 range for sure. It's called a 70. Just making them up. Numbers mean nothing. The final one, Ford's Gin. Well, when I first started this show, this was like the darling of the craft cocktail scene, Ford's Gin. Everybody was using Ford's. If I'm not mistaken, it's compounded in California or something like that. I don't know. Ford's. My favorite thing about Ford's is that when I went to BarCon Brooklyn years ago, they were giving out oysters and real wasabi. Like they had a chef there with wasabi root, and he was just grating actual wasabi root for you. Here in the US, when you get like sushi or whatever, most of your wasabi, it's like a lot of it is horseradish. This was incredible. It wasn't like melt your face spicy at all. It was just like delicious. It was so cool. Fresh wasabi root. He was also annoyed at the fact that this very expensive wasabi root was being wasted on Philistines who couldn't really appreciate it. I was like, I don't give a shit. Give me more. It was free. Thank you, Fords. Okay, here we go. So already they're coming out ahead. Bribery. Ford's Gin. I find this to be very mild, a gentle juniper forward gin of the very standard variety. I would put it in the same bucket as a Tanqueray, although more mild than a Tanqueray. Tanqueray is a bit more bracing, but it's in that world. I would probably match it to Tanqueray. I think that you would be able to easily use them interchangeably. So this is my final gin, Ford's Mild, tank-like. There we have it, the how to drink Gin Stravaganza for your viewing pleasure. Let's see, what did I rank the highest in terms of just pure points here? I think the Drumshambo came up with 67. Oh, no, Tanqueray number 10 was 75. I really liked that one, actually. That was an interesting gin. Let's try that one more time. Just one more tasting on the Tank 10. I love that cork cap. Ooh. I was about to say, I don't know, maybe I don't like it as much now. Maybe I was tricked. Maybe it was just too sweet. It has a very mild opening. It passes through a very lovely note of orange and juniper kind of dancing together. I like that a lot. I find that to be a very cool gin. Yeah, I stand by my 75. These points are arbitrary, made up, and mean nothing. Our best gin, number 10. Our worst gin with a score of 10 is Bulldog. Where did the Classic Club? Oh no, sorry. Bulldog was just ahead of Classic Club with the points of 5, which is the worst gin. Thank you so much for hanging out with me during this gin extravaganza. I will see you soon on another episode of HTD. Until then, good night and good luck. And I hope this was informational for you. Yeah, I feel fine. I didn't really actually drink today.